St. Andrew's College is an affirming ministry of the United Church of Canada. We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. This verbal acknowledgement is one concrete action that symbolizes our commitment to the work of reconciliation. A wise and witty theological pundit once observed that some churches teach salvation by grace, others teach salvation by works, but the United Church of Canada teaches salvation by subcommittee. This joke was made tongue-in-cheek, but there was and maybe is more than a little truth expressed in it. For those of us who are used to more clerical, hierarchical, or episcopal forms of church governance, encountering United Church Polity for the first time can be a bit of a culture shock. Whether at the level of congregational board meetings, national gatherings, or the many working groups, clusters, committees, and networks in between, one is likely to notice that there is a lot of conversation and a lot less deferral to authority than might be present in other denominational governance gatherings. On the positive side, this can be a good sign that collaboration and consensus building are happening as a part of the church culture. And on not so good days, sometimes it might just feel like people are talking a lot without getting much done. The polity of the United Church of Canada has deep roots in the various traditions which embarked upon church union in 1925. From the Presbyterians was inherited a Reformed polity which valued clear structures and a balance of authority between clergy and lay people within the workings of each court or governance level of the church. The Methodists brought their synodal structures and missionary patterns of connection. The Congregationalists, as the name implies, treasured a style of church polity which allows the local congregation wide and deep powers of decision-making, unencumbered by, quote, outside influence. Other denominational traditions, such as the Western Union churches and Evangelical Brethren churches, brought their own flavors of governance, but these were largely absorbed into the basis of union of the three founding bodies. It is important to note that while the difference between Presbyterian, Methodist, and Congregationalist polities were strong, stronger still was their basic Anglo-Protestant suspicion of bishops. While some of the Methodists' bodies involved in the ecumenical streams feeding into the United Church had bishops as part of their structure, their polity didn't involve the robust episcopal governance of Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, or Anglican ecclesial bodies. This general anti-bishop sentiment can be traced through the non-conformist roots of each of these three denominations back to their countries of origin in the United Kingdom. However, while the United Church does not have bishops, that is not to say that there is no exercise within its polity of the ministry of an episcop or oversight. There is a difference between personal forms of episcop and the more dispersed and distributed and administrative modes of oversight found within the United Church. This has been one of the key sticking points in recent ecumenical discussions between the United Church of Canada and the Anglican Church of Canada, and it's explored fruitfully in the 2016 document entitled Called to Unity and Mission. Historically, the United Church has been marked, for better or worse, by a commitment to sharing the ministry that developed conciliar models of oversight, vesting the functions of the episcopae within elected bodies and revolving leadership models. This commitment is key to understanding the distinct theology of polity of the United Church of Canada. In addition, as part of the secular background of the Church Union in 1925, it is significant to note the governance patterns developing within two major Canadian bodies, the trade unions and the cooperative movements. A strong democratic socialist urge, combined with the need to organize large numbers of members, the ecumenical movement of the day, who were also deeply immersed as part of their commitment to the social gospel in these more secular movements. There was also overlap of church leaders with the various political streams which would eventually become the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, which was the precursor to the New Democratic Party. This is not at all to suggest that the early United Church of Canada was something like a socialist party at prayer, but simply to note that similar commitments to democratic and egalitarian ideals, embodied in large-scale bureaucratic governance structures, were shared among all these movements and institutions. There is a strong sense of structural stability or which permeates the polity of the United Church of Canada within its early years. After much prayer, conversation, and debate, the theological architects of church union decided that the United Church of Canada would best be served by 4 courts of church governance. For almost a century, the basis of union delineated and articulated the complex relationship between congregations or pastoral charges, presbyteries, conferences, and general council. Some of these bodies had clear areas of polity jurisdiction, but more often than not, decision-making was decentralized and shared carefully between the various courts. This sharing included a decision to have both clergy and lay equally represented within each court, which remains a strong pillar of the theology of polity in the United Church to this day. This is not to say that the specter of clericalism does not haunt the ecclesial halls of United Church governance, but the formal structures tend to mitigate. In 2018, after several years of consultation, the 43rd General Council took legislative action which introduced massive structural changes in the Church's polity. Rather than the 4 courts which had shaped the governance of the United Church since its inception, there would now be 3 councils: communities of faith, regional councils, and general councils. While this represented a definite change in the way things are done, what remains the same is a desire to share decision-making authority among various bodies, and not allow authority to be concentrated within one particular level or circle of governance. Perhaps one of the most significant changes in United Church polity is occurring as we speak. Following a long and often painful history of colonialism, which continues to this day, the Indigenous members and communities of the United Church of Canada are in the process of determining their own form of leadership and governance, currently embodied by the National Indigenous Council. Indigenous leaders and communities within the United Church of Canada have survived a century of colonial policies, prejudice and racism, the horrors of the residential school system, as well as more benign forms of patronization and marginalization. The very fact of Indigenous survival and now resurgence is a sign of hope for the entire Church. Our eyes and hearts will be also watching this particular form of governance and polity, which will arise through the wisdom teachings of United Church Indigenous elders and traditions. It is likely that these very teachings will hold keys to polity development, which will also guide the path of the wider Church's polity journey, should we have ears to hear. This has been a short glance at the evolution of United Church polity over the past 100 years of its existence. Any theology of polity, though, is ultimately in service of the practice of ministry and leadership in Christ's Church and God's beloved creation. The 2012 Statement of Ministry in the United Church of Canada asserts that the Church is a community of believers, the ecclesia, called into existence by the presence of Jesus Christ and the call to continue Jesus' ministry in the world. Through the Spirit who enlivens and renews the Church, all members are empowered to share in Christ's ministry, the work of the Church. The Church is about God's mission in the world, living out the gospel message through action, that there shall be shalom for God's creatures, and healing for God's creation. Ministry serves God's mission in the world. And so, in hope at its best, the polity of the United Church of Canada serves God's mission in the world as well.
Thanks for your interest in St. Andrew's College. If you'd like to learn more about any of our programs, please reach out to the College Recruitment Officer. The link is in the video notes below. And do feel free to like and share this video to spread the word. Peace and blessings be with you.